Am I the antagonist for expecting my father-in-law to clean up after himself? I, a 38-year-old female, and my husband, a 37-year-old male, have a beloved dog who we consider our baby. Our dog was rescued from a shelter and is often skittish and nervous around strangers. Because of this, we prefer not to board him while we're on vacation because we're concerned about the stress it may cause him. Instead, my father-in-law kindly agrees to babysit our dog at our home. We offer my father-in-law money for his help, but he refuses any payment. Instead, he asks us to cover the cost of specific groceries he needs while we're away. This is never an issue as the grocery list is usually simple, consisting of the essentials. I am someone who values cleanliness and dislikes messes, especially in the kitchen. It seems that every time we arrange this dog-sitting agreement, I come back home to a disaster of a kitchen. There will be food stuck to the stove and splatters inside the microwave. It bothers me so much that I immediately start cleaning up as soon as I see it. It's frustrating to return from a trip and have to clean up after a grown adult. I have expressed my appreciation to my husband for his father's help, but I have also shared my expectation that he needs to clean up after himself. I believe this is a reasonable request. While my husband acknowledges that his father can be messy, he believes that since his dad isn't charging us for dog sitting, it's a fair exchange. He is even willing to assist me in cleaning up the messes his father has made. However, I disagree. I think that if you stay in someone's home, regardless of the reason, you should be considerate and leave the space as you found it. I have asked my husband to talk to his father about this, but he doesn't think it's a big deal since his dad is dog sitting for free. Am I the asshole? Am I the antagonist? Or is my husband right? While your father-in-law is not charging you for his services, it doesn't excuse his lack of cleanliness and consideration for your home. It's not unreasonable to ask him to clean up after himself, especially if the messes are as significant as you described. Your husband should understand and support your request to have a clean and tidy home, even if it means having a conversation with his father about it. Am I the antagonist for giving the guy who confessed to me the cold shoulder? I, a 20-year-old woman, was approached by a 21-year-old man from my college via text. I politely declined his advances, explaining that I am not currently interested in dating and am focused on my studies and career. However, he persisted, suggesting that we go on a date so that I can determine my level of interest. I explained that while I don't mind hanging out with guys as friends, I was not comfortable going on a date with him. Part of the reason for this was because he is significantly larger and stronger than me, with a height of 6.1 feet and weight between 250, 300 pounds, whereas I am only 5.4 feet and 99 pounds. I felt unsafe being alone with someone who is much stronger than me. Despite my clear refusal, he continued to bring up the idea of a date. He also questioned why I had such a strong aversion to dating, to which I simply replied that it is just a personal preference without any specific reasons. Days later, while I was busy working on a task, he sent me late-night texts. We exchanged some basic messages, but then he confessed that he was drunk and said, "I miss you." It is important to note that this guy often compliments me, which makes me uncomfortable. On one occasion, he called me baby girl, and I immediately expressed my dislike for that nickname. He brushed it off as a joke. When he texted "I miss you," I simply told him to go to sleep since he was drunk and continued with my task. However, he criticized me for not reciprocating his sentiment and called me cold and mean. Personally, I did not want to say "I miss you" to him under any circumstance. I reiterated my suggestion for him to sleep, but he became upset and accused me of toying with his feelings. He claimed that I sent him emotionless messages while he put effort into his texts. He also mentioned that he noticed I'd been giving him the cold shoulder since his confession. At this point, I was frustrated because I just wanted to focus on my work while he demanded emotionally charged responses, despite knowing that I was busy. I apologized for making him feel that way but explained that there was nothing I could do to change it. I suggested that he sleep since he was not in a sober state of mind. In response, he called me an a-hole for calling him drunk right after he confessed how my behavior bothered him. I decided to give up and ignore him for the rest of the night, continuing with my work. So am I the a-hole for giving the guy who confessed to me the cold shoulder? No, you are not the asshole for giving the guy who confessed to you the cold shoulder. You were clear from the beginning that you were not interested in dating and that you wanted to focus on your studies and career. It seems like he didn't respect your boundaries and continued to push for a date despite your clear rejection. Additionally, his behavior of calling you cold and mean for not reciprocating his "I miss you" text is manipulative. You have the right to prioritize your work and not feel obligated to respond to someone who is drunk and being demanding. It is not your responsibility to cater to his feelings or provide him with the attention he wants. You were assertive and stood your ground, and it is important to prioritize your own comfort and safety. If you continue to feel uncomfortable with his behavior, it might be best to block him and distance yourself from him completely. Am I the antagonist for leaving after my boyfriend blamed me for something I didn't do? What happened is that I spent the whole day really well with my partner. We were laughing a bit more than usual. The truth is, we haven't had very good days. This time, I cooked for him. After finishing cooking, we settled down to watch a movie. But before that, while he was choosing the movie, he got upset about something his sister did. Normally, when he gets angry, I try to communicate with him, asking questions. In his anger, he told me, "I'm not that angry right now, but it really annoys me when I'm angry and you start asking me things." Following this, he mimicked me by asking questions. As a natural response, I got offended and became a bit serious. Immediately, he got angry and said I was making it about me. That made me very angry because I wasn't the one who made him angry, and in fact, we had been having a great time together. I tried to explain that just because he was angry didn't mean I couldn't get upset if he treated me poorly. But he started calling me selfish and accused me of making it about me. I sat down to watch the movie. He didn't want to sit, so he left, laid down to sleep, and insisted I should eat, that he wouldn't eat with me. Of course, I got angry because I spent time cooking, and he made me feel bad for something I didn't do because I wasn't the one who made him angry. Hours later, when he returned, I was still hurt because it didn't make sense to me that he said I was trying to make it about me when I hadn't done anything to make him angry. Nevertheless, he kept asking me things, and I answered, serious but polite. For him, this meant I was responding poorly or disrespecting him. We watched a movie while I had dinner, finished it, went to bed, and I told him that if he wanted, I could go get his charger from the living room since he was in pain. He said no, and that because of how I was responding, he preferred to get it himself. After that, I said, well, good night. And we started fighting because I didn't apologize as he expected. If I stayed silent, he accused me of ignoring him. If I said something, he continued to blame me as if I had done something to him, as if I had made him angry or had the intention of making him angry by asking questions when he was upset and feeling bad because he spoke to me rudely. I decided to leave because I couldn't stay silent or talk without fighting, and I feel very bad. I feel guilty, but at the same time, I know I didn't do anything, and I don't want to fall into the dynamic or belief that I did something wrong when I didn't. Do you think I did something wrong? I believe I might be the asshole because I left my partner's home at 4 a.m. in the morning because of our fight. He asked me that out of respect I try to understand his anger, but I said no and left. It is understandable that you got offended when your partner mimicked you and accused you of making it about yourself. It's important for both parties in a relationship to communicate and express their feelings, but it seems like your partner is not acknowledging your own emotions and dismissing them. Leaving at 4 a.m. in the morning might have been an extreme reaction, but it appears to be a result of the ongoing argument and feeling hurt. It is important for both of you to work on better communication and understanding each other's emotions. It could be beneficial to have a calm discussion about how his anger affects you and how both of you can handle conflicts more effectively in the future. Am I the antagonist for not controlling my dog? I have a minor issue that has been bothering me lately. After work, I take my dog to a dog park. The park has separate areas for dogs under 25 pounds and larger dogs. However, people sometimes bring their small dogs into the larger dog area too. One day, a woman brought her small Shih Tzu into the larger dog area and asked me and the other two people there if our dogs were friendly. We all said yes because typically dogs at a public dog park are friendly since they are used to being around other dogs. For some reason, my dog didn't like this woman and started barking at her. He didn't go closer than 5 feet to her, and I could tell he was more scared of her than anything. He was barking to defend himself, but his bark may have seemed aggressive. She didn't appreciate it and asked me to get my dog away from her, expressing concern for her dog's safety. I assured her that her dog was safe and told my dog to go away and play, which he did. I apologized to her for my dog's behavior and explained that he can be vocal due to his husky heritage, but he is not aggressive and wouldn't attack. She said she was fine and not worried about herself, but worried about her dog's safety. I reassured her that her dog was fine. Afterwards, my dog went about 15 feet away from hers, just walking around without any intention to approach her dog. However, she told me to go over there to make sure my dog wouldn't attack. I found it a bit dramatic, but I didn't want to be rude. At this point, the woman was standing on a bench. I continued to watch my dog, and he decided he wanted to say hi to the Shih Tzu because he loves all dogs and always wants to greet them. The dogs were about 50 feet away from me, and as my dog went to sniff and say hi, the lady started yelling at me to get my dog away from hers. I was annoyed because my dog hadn't actually done anything to her dog. Until that point, he had ignored it, and now he just wanted to sniff. I told her again that he was fine and just saying hi, but she trailed off and didn't respond. I ignored her, but kept an eye on my dog, who sniffed her dog, wagged his tail, and then moved on without causing any trouble. Afterwards, the lady decided to leave, and I was relieved. I was just wondering if I was in the wrong for not getting my dog away from hers. I know nothing actually happened, but I can understand her perspective of being worried about her own dog's safety. Also, I want to clarify that the moment my dog started barking at her, I immediately intervened and tried to shoo him away. He started barking again when I spoke to the woman, but that's when I told him to go play. Additionally, he has never barked at someone like that before, so I was a bit surprised. Although it's understandable that the woman may have been concerned for the safety of her dog after your dog barked at her, you did everything you could to reassure her. Your dog did not exhibit any aggressive behavior towards her dog and showed no signs of wanting to harm it. It's unreasonable for her to expect you to control your dog's every move just because he barked once. As long as you were attentive and responsible, you handled the situation appropriately. Am I the antagonist for telling my sister I don't recall asking her opinion when she wouldn't stop making comments about something I bought? I, a 25-year-old female, don't usually buy myself expensive or brand new items. The only exceptions are when I need to replace leggings or underwear. In those cases, I'll buy them brand new but at a low price of around £10. For other clothing items, I prefer to buy them secondhand or on sale. The only luxury item I own is my phone, which I pay for monthly. However, I don't have the latest model, just an iPhone 13, and I'm content with it. I don't feel compelled to constantly upgrade my belongings. I still use a MacBook that I purchased a couple of years ago, as I don't see the need to replace it. Recently, I decided to buy myself an iPad. I'll be going back to studying in January, so I thought it would be helpful for my assessments and general studying. I've always wanted one, so I decided to treat myself and get an iPad in advance. I opted for an iPad mini 6th generation with 256 GB of storage. Although it's 2 years old, it runs smoothly, has great storage capacity, and was much cheaper than the latest model. I've been using it extensively and absolutely love it. My mom asked to see my iPad because she was considering getting one herself. It didn't have to be the exact same model, but she wanted to get a general sense of it in case she liked it. Since she's not tech savvy, she also wanted to test if she could handle using it and learn how to navigate it before committing to a purchase. My sister Amy, 23, who still lives at home, kept making snide remarks about how I could have bought a better and larger iPad, as well as a more recent one, if I wasn't so concerned with being frugal and afraid to spend more money on something better. Both my mom and I repeatedly told her to stop, as she was being irritating, but she wouldn't let up. Fed up, I rudely told her that I didn't ask for her opinion, which made her storm off in a fit of anger. Our dad wasn't present at the time because he was at work. However, Amy complained to him about me, stating that I was rude after she had voiced her opinion, which she claimed was merely an observation. Dad believes that I should apologize to Amy and take the high road, even though he acknowledges that she was rude to me first and even acted childishly. He dislikes conflict and just wants a peaceful life. Mom, on the other hand, thinks that Amy crossed a line and that I was simply trying to assist her by sharing my experience. She believes that Amy should be the one to apologize. Amy has become defensive and wonders why I'm so afraid to live a little and treat myself to something new and fancy, given that I've never done so before. I'm extremely irritated by the entire situation. You are not in the wrong here. You made a considered decision to purchase an iPad that suited your needs and budget, and you're happy with it. Your sister Amy was out of line for making snide comments about your choice and pressuring you to spend more money on a newer model. Your mother even acknowledged that Amy was rude and that you were simply trying to help her out. It's understandable that you would be annoyed and irritated by Amy's behavior. Your dad's suggestion to apologize in order to keep the peace may not be fair to you, considering that Amy instigated the conflict. You have every right to defend yourself and set boundaries with her. Stand your ground and continue to assert that her comments were unnecessary and uncalled for. Aita for skipping my aunt's funeral to go on a planned day trip with my son. The last week, I, 26-year-old male, was informed that my aunt, who had been in the hospital for the last 3 months, took a turn for the worse. I was pressured by my father to come up there to say my goodbyes, even though I'm not comfortable in those situations, and it wasn't helped by my history with my aunt. Growing up, this aunt was the only one that was nice to me. She had a child my age, so I spent the night over at their place many times growing up. Of all my aunts and uncles, she was the one that I was closest with. This slightly changed as I got older and started eavesdropping on conversations she had with her husband and my grandmother, where she constantly trashed my parents, siblings, and sometimes even me while I was in the next room. With my family, I always felt like I was compared to my cousin, and nothing I did was good enough. My grandmother made it clear she didn't like my father, nor me. This treatment lasted until I went to college. My cousin made some lifestyle choices around that time that went against my family's beliefs, so all of a sudden, I became the grandchild that they leaned on. This sudden change got annoying quickly and caused tensions to rise. After leaving for college, my contact with my grandparents and this aunt tapered off. I played sports in college, but they never came out to watch no matter how close. After graduation, my grandfather passed away suddenly. I dropped everything at work and went to join the family. Upon getting there, the reception to me was cold. Obviously, everyone was grieving, but nobody even tried to comfort me. I sat in the room with him alone because that's the only place that felt okay to be. After his funeral at dinner, somehow the conversation came up about my upbringing and how it was affecting me as an adult. The aunt that I was closest to accused me of being spoiled as a child and unruly, and that I was continuing this by spending money on my wife and myself whenever the budget allowed, multiple vacations a year, etc. To add on, I grew up in poverty in one of the worst parts of town. My aunt and her family lived in a house that I can't even dream of owning today, and my cousin was given everything he wanted. Their reasoning behind why I was spoiled was that I had a grandfather who lived with us, and he'd make sure I went to a proper Catholic school and was able to do any activities my heart desired. From that day on, my relationship with my aunt and grandmother has been almost non-existent. My child was born 4 years ago, and they didn't even meet him until his first birthday. Since then, they have only seen him 3 times. Every time I see them, I am guilt-tripped about not coming to see them and bringing my boy. I had a day trip planned with my son to another city just out of state, but was informed that my aunt's funeral was that day. Am I the a-hole for going on the day trip instead of my aunt's funeral? You have a right to grieve and cope with the loss in your own way. It seems like your aunt and grandmother have not shown much interest or support in your life, and they cannot expect you to drop everything for them now. It is important to prioritize your own well-being and spend time with your son, especially since you have a limited relationship with your aunt and grandmother. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.